In software engineering, we are taking chapter number 8, Mobile App Design. So mobile is a device. We all have it now. The application on this mobile is the mobile app. So talk about a smartphone or a tablet or wearable device like these smart watches. There are so many specialized products. And this was and this is the next wave of computing. In August 2012, the Los Angeles Times, they reported about these mobile devices, smartphone. So the smartphone penetration has crossed the 50% mark for the first time in the United States. That is what they reported. So we are talking about the advent and the spread of this smartphone. And now, since last 2 years, the smartphone has become so important that now the whole education system is dependent on it. The Gartner group, same time, they report that in the same business quarter, 419 million smartphones were sold globally, and the projected annual sales of 119 million tablet computers. So smartphones and tablet, and this is nearly 100% increase over the previous year. So you can see the extent at that time. But now things have changed. Mobile computing has become a dominant force. I'm just giving you an idea. In 2016, the number of users of smartphone and mobile were 2.5 billion. But 2020, it increased to 3.5 billion. 2.5 billion is India has a population of 1.38 billion. China 1.42 billion. You can see the extent. And we are talking about 2020, 2025, 2027. So I think everyone will have 2 or 3 devices now. So when we talk about the application on mobile, development of the application to be executed on mobile, so mobile users, they are expecting some feature, they want some feature that are provided on their personal computers. Some of them would agree and they will be happy if they could get the mobile version of that software, maybe with less functionality, but they are happy that they are getting it in a handheld device, so they can work on it on the go. So there are certain development considerations of mobile app. So we are talking about software, we are talking about app, but app is a short form of application. And these applications are, you can say, a lightweight software. Lightweight software. And you might have felt how easy it is to work on these apps now. So like all computing devices, these mobile platforms, they are also differentiated by the application of the software they are delivering. Because the operating system, maybe it can be Android, it can be an iOS operating system, and the mobile apps available are thousands of them. You only need and you only use some subset of these available mobile apps. Now the young kids, the individuals, they don't need any training. They are creating, they are making, they are selling the apps, new apps, mobile apps. But the mobile platforms are quite complex. I'll give an example. Android and iOS, they contain over 12 million lines of code. If you take an operating system which is called Android, it has line of codes 12 million. 1 million is 10 lakh. You can imagine the complexity of the operating system. So if you are working, say, on a screen, mobile screen. Now when you open a browser, sometimes you might not be able to see the full content on a web page because you are working on 25, 27, 30, 32 screen of your laptop, or laptop is around 15, 17 like this. But you are working on a computer, a PC, you are working on a 30-inch monitor now. But what about your browser on the mobile? Mobile, what is the size of the screen? It is 5-inch or 5.5 or say 6, because beyond that it will be a tablet. So mobile devices have smaller and very different screen sizes than the personal computers. So these are the different sizes, 5, 5.5, 6. If you go up to 8, then it will become a tablet now. So now this, you might have understood that the user interface design, this is a very important issue, and as a software developer, as an application developer, you need to give more attention towards it. And these mobile apps, how do we design them? First of all, mobile is moving everywhere. It is in your pocket, it is in your hand. You are on a train, you are on a bus, you are walking. So you ought to feel the intermittent connectivity outages, right? Sometimes the mobile network, you are connected, data you are getting, sometimes you are connected to Wi-Fi. And most of the time, the connectivity may be an issue, but if connectivity is good, that is okay. But when you go to some place where the connectivity is an issue, as a developer, you have to understand that the battery is limited. Okay, if you are doing, say, playing some game, the battery will die. And there are so many device constraints also. There is one more thing, that if you open, say, Bluetooth or say Wi-Fi, so you are discovering the devices. So what is the coordination mechanism? How are you exchanging the information? And thereby doing all this, you have to maintain the security also. And while you are communicating, you have to be very sure about the integrity. You are talking to the right person. And then synchronizing all these actions. So this is how we develop the mobile application. Sometimes you, as an application developer, you use an algorithm which is inefficient. So the inefficient algorithm will drain the battery at no time. For example, if you are uploading, just try it. Connect your mobile with hotspot to your PC and then use your browser of your PC to upload using the mobile connection of your mobile. You will see that your mobile will get hot, whatever good mobile you have. This will happen. I am saying 1 GB, 2 GB, you just try it. And since we want the communication to happen on the same mobile network, so we need to have a middleware. So this middleware will allow different types of mobile devices to communicate in the same mobile networks. You see in this picture, applications need middleware so that it can connect to wireless network, even the wired network. The testing of these mobile apps is a great challenge because it will work, it will execute, it will be used on different environments. So you need to have a portability in your view, in your perception, whenever you develop your application. So there are certain technical considerations when we are developing our mobile app. So what are these are technical considerations. Let us see them one by one. First of all, the application will work on multiple hardware, or it has to be tailored so that it can be made to work on different hardware and different software, because varied system, varied devices will have very different kind of configuration. There are different development framework and the programming language. For example, currently we have Java, Objective-C, C#. These are the languages. And you might have heard about Android Studio. So there are popular development framework like Android, iOS, BlackBerry, Windows and Symbian. So mobile app developers, they don't buy a mobile and check. They use the emulators that work on their or that run on their desktop development system. So emulator is you develop an app and then try to run it on the emulator. For example, Samsung Galaxy or iOS, whichever is there. But most of the time, the emulators on which you actually check is limited because it is just reflecting that device. It is not the actual device. While in actual scenario, things may change. Mobile always, most of the time, we use the thin client applications. You cannot have a big software, say all the configuration, the database, networking, everything cannot be, persistent storage cannot be on your app. So it has to have a thin client. So when the thick client or fat client we are talking about, all the interaction responses are happening in the software itself or the app itself. But we cannot afford to have a thick client on a mobile. You need to have a thin client. Only interaction will be there. The background services will all be provided by the server or the different kind of server. I'll just talk about that. Various app stores are there, like the Android Play Store, iOS Store. So these are app stores with different rules and tools. Every mobile platform has its own app store, and they have their own standards. How to accept the apps? For example, the Apple, the Google, the RIM, the Microsoft, the Nokia, they publish their own standard. So whenever you are developing a mobile app for multiple platforms, you need an expert for it, standard expert. And the mobile apps are always developed in short development cycles. You cannot have a like software for 1 or 2 years. So generally agile development process is used. Because user interface is very important. There is some limitation, there are some complexities of interaction with the sensors and cameras. The screen is small and there are rich interaction possibilities. You can, interact with your mobile using your voice, touch, gesture, eye tracking. Effective use of context. Again, talking about user interface design, there is context-aware application. Context-aware is going to personalize the user experience. Whatever user experience or user want, the context-aware applications have to be developed so that they understand what the user want or what is his choice or her choice. The user will say, oh, this is what I wanted. And this is the context-aware application. Power management, battery is limited. So battery life is the most limiting constraint in any mobile app you are talking about. Okay. So now the battery have increased. It works for a whole day if you are doing everything. Sometimes backlighting, reading and writing to memory, you are using wireless connection, you are using GPS, you are making use of specialized hardware, you are gaming, the processor speed. All these are impacting the power management, power usage. So now you have to have your thoughts about how to save the battery life. And while you are working on mobile, the security and privacy models and policies are there. That is, there may be people who can eavesdrop. There may be people who work as man in the middle and they may attack. And this is very critical to the safety. So if your mobile is lost, then the data can be taken, or the malicious app you have downloaded. It can take your all content data, because right now we are doing all kind of work where? In your mobile app. Okay. Right. Computational and storage limitations. Mobile is very small. So the computational power, you cannot enhance it to the level you have workstations, etc. And the storage is also limited. You can have 32 GB, 64 GB, 128 GB, but you cannot have terabytes. Maybe later it is possible. But using mobile devices to control home environment and security devices has increased the computational and storage expectancy or requirement. You are handling everything from your mobile now. You need to be very sure how computationally expensive or the storage this app is requiring. Sometimes even the information, for example, you are taking pictures, you are taking videos. So these are the extent of volume of information. So the mobile device may overwhelm with respect to the storage, with respect to the processing speed or the power being consumed. So again, I'm saying if you're playing games or making videos or doing every work on your mobile, computation and storage is always a restriction. Application that depends on external services. So as I said, whenever you are building a mobile app, it will be a thin client most of the time. So it will depend on what? Because it is just thin client. So it will depend on web service providers and cloud storage facilities. And since the data and service is required, what is the accessibility and what is the security? So these are the concerns which has increased. And as a developer, you have to be very sure that you have this concern while making a mobile application, even if you are trained or not trained. Testing complexity. What happens? Because you are making a thin client. Now everything will be done on the back end, not on the front end. So you have to have a transmission of data. It can go through internet gateways or telephone networks. So what is the complexity here? You have to test the complexity also. So whenever you are developing a mobile app, Andrew, he described a spiral engineering process model for the mobile app design, and there are 6 activities he proposed. First is the formulation, because in any software part or any mobile app or any web app, you have to have an architectural design, the overall structure, because now you have a lot of navigation here. So navigation design will be there. What is the goal? What are the features? What are the functions of the mobile app? Because in the first increment, you have to be very sure that these designs have to be done. This is the formulation. So you decide here. Then you plan. And planning is all about the total project cost and the risk. For example, a railway booking app. Now this is going to be used by billions of people. Analysis. All mobile user requirements, these are to be specified. And depending on that, what are the content items? Because in mobile, we are dealing with content. This needs to be identified. So what do you do here? First, you do the content analysis, interaction analysis, the functional analysis, and the configuration analysis. These analyses have to be done after planning, and then developer will identify that whether they have to build a thin client or they actually need a fat client or a big client, or you can say a thick client. For example, as a device is only to be used for one app, so you can always make a fat client. But the mobile which we are using multiple apps at the same time. So we cannot afford to have a thick client here. Only thin client can be made. In engineering, now we are talking about the actual working on architectural design, navigation design, interface design, content design, and now the content production. So this analysis and the formulation will be the input for these engineering. Implementation and testing. Mobile app, the same way other testing is done, it has to be tested also. So the challenges are, because every 3G, 4G, 5G, it is on certain frequencies. So there will be radio interference. We are working on the wireless environment, and there will be frequent disconnection, because you might be on train, you might be walking. So there will be some network coverage issues always. And because sometimes you might see that you have low bandwidth, there will be frequent data transmission delays. And as this mobile, again on wireless type of communication scenario, there will be security concern. It is somewhat less secure and easy to attack. So this has to be implemented and tested properly. Then finally, user evaluation. This mobile app is evaluated, assessed by the user for usability and accessibility. Andrew is suggesting that the ubiquity, that is everywhere it is, personalization, flexibility, localization, this is very important for every mobile app so that everyone can use it, and it can be for the business, it is fruitful. So mobile user, they expect something. They receive information, they want to receive and conduct transaction in real time, wherever they are, or how many numbers of concurrent users are there. Mobile application has to be customized according to each and every user preferences. The user opens something and every time he has to do the same scenario of fixing things. Users of mobile devices should be able to engage in activities, and access to local information and services has to be provided to the mobile users. Basically, it's personalized. Mobile is personal to you, and you need all those things which makes your life easy. Mobile app quality. So quality is all about the satisfaction, user satisfaction. So Andrew suggested end user satisfaction with the mobile app, and this is dictated by 6 important quality factors. What are these? Functionality, reliability, the usability, the efficiency, and maintainability. Finally, the portability. So these are 6 important quality factors. Each of them we have already discussed, and they apply in the similar way to your mobile apps also. On the right side, you see these are mobile app service quality, interaction quality, environment quality, and outcome quality. And these come, for example, environment quality comes from design and performance. So whenever we are checking the quality, there are certain things as a software engineer you need to assess. Can content and function and navigation options be tailored to the specific user preferences? Can content or functionality be customized to the bandwidth? Because bandwidth will always be an issue. If the signal is weak or lost, what are you going to do? The content, function, navigation. Is this context aware? That is, does it work according to user preferences? Has adequate consideration has been given to the power availability? Because battery is always an issue. Have graphics, media, and other web or cloud services has been used appropriately and efficiently? And is the overall page design easy to read and navigate? Because the screen size will be different. So it has to be adaptable. It needs to be adaptable. Your screen and your content. According to content, the screen. So does the user interface conform to the display and interaction as standard? Because different targeted mobile devices, they have different standards. Does the app conform to the reliability, security, and privacy expectation of its users? Because this is very important. Reliability is an issue, and security, privacy, especially for the women. What provision have been made to ensure an app remains current? Is it for today, or it has already been built by someone already there? So there will be no business usefulness for it. Has the mobile app been tested in all targeted user environment and for all targeted devices? Because if it works on one and not work on another, the software will fail. The app will fail. User interface design. User interface is where a user interacts through this user interface with the smartphone or the mobile. So this is the user interface, and this is the main thing for any user. So the design of this user interface, which will accept the command, is very important. So mobile device user, they want very less minimal learning time to master this application which we have made. They want that the icon should be consistent in any platform. The placement should be, on the same place. User may use the touch or the gesture. So the interface which are catering to this, along with the voice input which has increased so much now. So interface need to account for certain things. For example, the brand differences. There are different people, there are different brands, there are different ways the people see or want to work. The cultural differences. That is, a person who is in Arab, the person who is in, say, Uganda, the cultural difference, the user interface has to be different. So differences in the computing experiences. Some may have good memory, some may have less. Elderly people, that is those who need some time to learn and understand. And then the disability. Those people who are specially able, like the visual, oral, and especially the mobility, they are restricted with the mobility. The interface should be designed for all these different fields, different thoughts, different perspectives. So everyone is using it, even a normal person, even a person with special ability. He may be using something very different which a normal user don't want. So in order to meet or to satisfy all these stakeholders' requirement expectation, the mobile app, as a developer, you are a developer, you need to answer certain question. And if you are able to answer the certain question, I hope the user interface design will be good. So is the user interface consistent across application? Because if one application is being made by a certain company, the second application which you are using from the same company, are they consistent? Are the user interface consistent, or they are altogether different? For example, banking. For example, the same company is making something for crypto. So the user interface should be consistent. Is the device interoperable with different network services? Because you have different service providers, ISPs, different connectivity you are going through while you are using your mobile. So is the device acceptable in terms of stakeholder values in the target market area? That is, whatever user asks you for the market, are you able to provide everything? So a mobile user, when is using a user interface as a developer, there are certain design considerations. So here we see IO viewers. So they said that there are certain practices we have to follow. Define a user interface brand signature. That is, you have to make certain application which is different from the competitors. You need to have certain core elements in them. It should be responsive. Since the user would want to come to you if you provide like this. Focus the portfolio of products. That is, you have to target the audience. Okay? Not all platforms, they have same number of users. Don't target users, don't just target the product portfolio. Identify the core user stories. So as we said in QFD, we talked about QFD, that the requirement need to be implemented, but the resources in the mobile, they are constrained. So what are the core user stories requirements have to be first given. Optimize UI flows and elements. User are busy now. They don't want to wait. So I'll just give you an example. I pay a bill, or I get a bill on my email, I pay it. But when I go to find a receipt on the app, because receipt they don't send, it is so difficult to find it. This happens with me. Define scaling rule. What does it mean? We have to determine the option that will be used when information to be displayed is too large to fit on the screen. So this information may be higher and the screen size is less. So the functionality, aesthetics, usability, performance has to be balanced. This is not your laptop or your big screen. Use a performance dashboard. That is, you have to show what are the user stories being implemented and the performance, because people want performance good from the competitor. Champion dedicated UI engineering skill. That is layout, graphic, animation. All these have performance implication. You have to do engineering, but with reference to, with thoughtfulness of all these things also. In user interface design, Eisenstein is not Einstein, he's Eisenstein. So he claims that the use of abstract and a platform neutral models. He said that this is a better way to describe the user interface, and that will make the development of your app consistent, usable on multi-platform for different mobile systems. So he called it as a mobile-based design. And this model-based design, there are three different models. The approach is catering to three different models you have to see and make. Platform model, presentation model, and task model. So the platform model is describing upon the constraints which are imposed by each platform, because each platform you have to make your app to work. Apple iOS, Android, Symbian, these are different platforms and they have their different own constraints and limitations, and their standards are also different. So first you have to design platform model, then presentation model, that is how it is going to be seen on the mobile, that is the user interface, appearance. There are different screen sizes available. So presentation is very important, because if something looks good, then only people would like to buy it. Then the task model. Now this task model is a structured representation of the task a user needs to perform their business objective or goal. So what are the minimum bare requirement you have to fulfill that needs to be there? These are the task model. Then utilizing all these model based design which we are talking about, utilizing the model based design technique can also help designer recognize and accommodate the unique context and context changes that are present in mobile computing. Because in mobile, the context is very important, for which the user is working, what the user wants, and that requirement will change, the context will change. So we ought to use this model based design. I'll give an example. Context, if your mobile is lost, context is lost. But Google, they have come up with the idea that now if you just enter an email, you are able to retrieve all the contacts. So this is a kind of thing you need to think about, what do you want to show as far as context is concerned. Context aware apps. See, these are those kind of apps which are context aware. That is, if I am talking about buying something on my mobile, that is my context. If I want to see videos, that is a context. So we want to find the service that best fits the current context of the mobile user. User may be doing something today, may be doing something tomorrow, and most of the time a user experience or user work is known. So that knownness has to be applied while you are designing your software. Different people do different activities, and that is personal to them, and that is context to them. So that needs to be put in your app, so that your app also becomes the context aware. So context allow the creation of new application which is based on where the mobile is, location of the mobile device, and what are the functionality to be delivered for us or for different users, and to satisfy a different user's requirement. So context help to tailor, to change, to modify personal computer application for mobile devices. I'll give an example. For example, there is a doctor or health worker. Now he wants to see someone as a patient in his house. Now the home health worker has a mobile device or an application. He is getting all the information. He gets all the information. And this is so good. Before going to him, he gets all the information on his app, on his mobile. So this is what I am talking about, context. Using highly adaptive contextual interfaces is always a good way to deal with the device limitation, because the screen size is limited, the battery is limited, the memory is limited for the mobile systems. So this we want our app to be adaptive and contextual. The device could be in any location. The device could be even in fixed location, like the alarm sensor. It can be embedded in some device, autonomous device. It can even be carried by any human being. So because the device is designed for different people as an individual or a group of the public, the device or the app must detect the presence and the identity of the user. Also, the attributes of the context which are only relevant to the user and permitted to the user, even if he is going to another device. Right? So this is a context-aware app. Again, I am telling, find the service that best fits the context user of or current user of the mobile user. Right? So he may be doing whatever, the app should facilitate it, should help it. For example, if you just search something in Amazon, those things will start coming everywhere. So the Amazon app is context aware. They know it. In order to achieve this context awareness, mobile system must produce or must get, receive, refine reliable information. There are certain uncertainty also, because the data may be rapidly changing, because it is coming from different heterogeneous sources, resources. So extracting the good information, relevant information as per the user or what the user wants, there are certain challenges also, because every time you are not going to get everything perfectly. Sometimes the problem may be, there may be noise, because electronic device, mobile is an electronic device. Okay. And your app is a software, a kind of software. So you may get noise, miscalibration, wear and tear. Even the weather may play a very dominant role. So extracting the context awareness may be a challenge, and you need to cater for it. You need to be aware of it so that you plan it before you actually design your context aware apps. Let me give you an example again of Google Map. Now, one time, 10 years or 8 years back, I was going to some place and it showed that go to the right, and we went to a altogether different place. But now the things have changed, because the data is coming and good data is coming. So event-based communication is preferable, and it should be preferable also and preferred also. So software infrastructure should support different kinds of interaction, because user may be interacting with their gesture, hand, touch, voice, pen. There are so many ways. In a laptop, you will be dealing with mouse kind of action or keyboard. Here things are different. So user may desire to work with more than one device also simultaneously on the same product. For example, he may be using a touch screen device to edit, say, a document image, and the personal keyboard to edit the document text. So same document I am talking about. One way he is changing the image, one way he is editing the document. So I'll give you an example of a multiplayer games, because there now people are playing games on different devices together. So the sharing of information, the network is involved, and this has to be delivered in real time. So this is a multi-billion industry, this gaming. So as a software developer, you have to cater to these requirements also. Lesson learned. What we have learned and what we need to keep in our mind as a software professional. So software engineers should modify and extend what are the conventional techniques. Because what we were doing, first we were planning, then we were gathering the requirement, then we design, then we code, then test, finally we give, that is deploy. So these are the conventional techniques. But we need to re-engineer, modify these to analyze, design, build, test mobile applications also. And every mobile usage is a user usage scenario, is a use case scenario. And for that you have to consider all the different location, user, device. And there will be some change, there will be transition between the contextual scenarios. User may be in bedroom, sometimes he is in kitchen, sometimes he is using stylus, sometimes he is using finger or voice. So all these are usage scenarios we need to consider. DASA and Carico, they have identified scenario variable types for different usage scenario. How the user is a different time, differently interacting with the user, the mobile or app. So the location and setting is an aspect. The movement and posture is very important. The devices and the usages, different devices may be used by different people in different way. Workloads and distractions. And of course, the user privileges and preferences and user wantedness. So the observation with respect to ethnicity, but that is called as ethnographic observation. This is widely used for getting information about who is going to use, because the world is more than 6-7 billion people. Different people use different way in how they interact with mobile, but they have different ethnicity. Okay, somewhere cow is eaten, somewhere cow is God. So you have to be very thoughtful while you are making your app or design. For example, if you are on shore, living on shore, you are living on mountain, the things will be different. So the complicating factor is users this complete task differently in private setting. If he is at browser, he may be doing different activities. Whenever he turns it to the incognito mode, he may be doing something different. So what you can do is, you can make a prototype, maybe created on a paper, simple paper. Then you may use some sketches, or you can use the index card or some post note. Because here you have to show the interaction, how user is going to interact, and what kind of ethnicity, what kind of place you are interested in. And then the use of these interaction widgets. Widgets are all these, different way you interact. And the later prototypes that can be run on actual targeted mobiles once the layout and placement issues have been resolved in the previous sketches, etc. In order to design a mobile application, there are certain best practices. But before getting to best practices, what are the common mistakes we do? Because we know the mistake, then only we'll be able to say, oh, we don't need to do this. We have to avoid this so that we can be best while we are designing our mobile app. So the first is Joe Coster. He gave certain points. Kitchen sink. We are putting so many features on this app, too many widgets. Simplicity is the key. Second thing is inconsistency. Some navigation is different, some buttons are different, some tabs are different here and there. So stick to a uniform, consistent look and feel. Over-design. As intelligent people, sometimes we want to over-design. We want to remove unnecessary elements and wasteful graphics. But while designing, don't be ruthless. Think and then do it. Lack of speed. See, there are constraints with respect to mobile apps and the mobile system. Okay, so try to preload, eliminate what is not needed. Verbiage. Sometimes we write certain things which are not to be given on a mobile. Okay, mobile app. Screen displays are limited. So don't unnecessarily make long worldly menus or screen displays. Non-standard interaction. There are different mobile apps made for different platforms and they have already given standard. So need to follow that standard. We don't follow it, we just make it what we want. Help and FAQ. What is this? Sometimes we don't design the user interface properly, but we say, okay, we'll give the help and FAQ. Frequently asked question. That is not the solution. Help and FAQ when the user is troubled for something. Why you want to put him in trouble and then want to resolve? That's not the good way. So help and FAQ should be the last resort. Designed properly. So there are certain important considerations while you designing the mobile touchscreen application. And these are listed by Shoemaker. It can be your Apple iOS. It can be your Google's Android. So what are the important considerations? First is identify your audience. You are making app for audience. What are their expectations? What are the backgrounds? It may be experienced user. It can be less experienced user. A 16-year guy and a 61-year-old person, they have different way of working or interacting with the app. Design for context of use. What kind of use? What way of use? So how the user will interact with the real world while using mobile app. There is a fine line between simplicity and laziness. You want to make the app as simple as possible. But you're so lazy to give certain things saying, oh, I'm just making it simple. So making it simple and being lazy are two different things. Don't be lazy. KISS principle you should follow. Keep it simple. But don't avoid those which are important for user. Use the platform as an advantage. See, touch screen navigation is not very intuitive. It has to be learned by all the new users, especially differently abled and the old age people. So use these as an advantage. Make it, the user interface designers should adhere to the standards because standards are already provided. Why not just to follow them? If you follow them, this will be better for the user also. Scroll bars, these are not meant for the mobile use or the tablet. They are for your big screens. So scroll bars are very difficult to locate because the touch devices, the screens are very small. Menu or icon borders should be wide enough for the color changes because you want the user's attention. For different people, for example, we have colorblind people. So you need to give sufficient contrast between colors which are in the foreground and the background. Because you will be able to understand what about the other majority people who want to use it. Increase the discoverability of advanced functionality. Sometimes you want to give advanced feature. You don't know it. Your friend will come, you say, oh, you know about this thing, there is a feature here. And you feel very shameful. Oh, I don't know about it. This is not your problem. The advanced functionality is not given properly so that you are able to discover it. It is not there for most of the people. Some may have discovered it. Use clear and consistent label. What you see, what you get. If something is good, people will buy it. So you see this screen is so clean. And the colors are so good. It is consistent. The labels are important what you write. So widget labels, are something what you interact with the system, right? So widget label should be recognized by all application user. If you are using abbreviation, don't use it first of all. If you are using, use it cautiously. Let me write just a random RIST. You are aware as a developer. How about the actual user? Sometimes you want to be clever. Okay. We do it at the expense of user understanding. User is naive. He is novice. He wants everything to be very easy. So to enhance recognition, try to give a label beneath some icon which is not understood, novel icon. Then support user expectation for personalization. This mobile is a personal thing. It is kept personally. So indicators users what feature can be personalized and how to do it. Long scrolling forms trump multiple screens on multiple devices. So the experience and those who are going to be experienced, they are happy on only one screen. They just want to scroll and they want to do only on one screen. So try to be faithful to them. Mobility environments. Now, whenever we develop a mobile application, so there are different devices, different platforms, different companies. For example, normal programming, we are using Borland C++, Eclipse, NetBeans, Visual Studio. There are so many. The list is endless. But we are talking about the mobility environment or development environment for mobile apps. So there are some technologies that are restricted only to single manufacturer's device. For example, iOS, Apple iOS, and Objective-C. Some platforms are there which are licensed not to a single manufacturer but to several other manufacturers like Android and Java, or you can say Windows 8 and C#. Android Studio we develop in Java. Windows 8 apps we develop in C#. There are some open source also. They are designed to work on various devices. For example, WebOS, HP and NU. So this is the Objective-C, this is C# and Java, and this is NU, an object-oriented cross-platform JavaScript framework. Okay, so these are different things available. As a mobile developer, what or which platforms you are going to choose is requiring a lot of consideration. That is, you require carefulness, thoughtfulness. This is not only the aspect. There are business goals because the customer is giving you that app to be built. And what are the device features he wants that to be supported, or the hardware limitation he has. So the app which has been given to you to be built by the customer, the platform need to be chosen according to that also. So there are different mobile environments that needs a lot of consideration. Yuan, he suggested there are certain criteria to choose and to assess the MIDE, Mobile Interactive Development Environments. MIDE. As I said, there are IDEs, Visual Studio, NetBeans. These are IDEs, Interactive Development Environment or Integrated Development Environment. So there are certain features to assess. Before I go ahead, let me tell you about the mobile development tools. So there are various tools to develop mobile apps. There are various popular devices and you can easily freely download these from internet. World Wide Web. For example, developer.apple.com, the Apple iOS Development Center. This contains tools for iPod, iPad, iPhone. Developer.android.com. So you get plugin, you get Android development using the Eclipse programming environment. You can do that. Then the developer.blackberry.com. Here we have plugin to allow BlackBerry development using the Eclipse environment. This environment it gives. And you can also download the Eclipse programming environment from eclipse.org. Previously, Java was predominantly we were working on NetBeans. Now it is Eclipse. Now coming to Microsoft, create.msdn.com, even the Xbox games, the Windows Phone apps. So these are the Microsoft tools you can download from. Developer.nokia.com, and this is for Java-based Nokia development tools. Then we have the developer.palm.com, right now getting popular HP WebOS development environment. Neo.js, this is a cross-platform development environment. You can use this website. And then we have www.sira.com. This is for construct to cross-platform game development environment. www.sira.com. So you can use all these. There are plenty more available. So Yuan was suggesting the criteria. First is general productivity features. whenever we are choosing some certain MIDE, this MIDE should contain tools to support the editing, the project management, the debugging, the architectural design, and the documentation. All these should be there in your MIDE which you choose along with the unit testing possibilities. Third party SDK integration. So it is better to work on one IDE rather than working on several IDE. Okay. So you don't need multiple IDs rather than one IDE which can fulfill all your job should be chosen. Post compilation tools. See, a good MIDE should contain those tools for source code that can be optimized for a specific mobile device or a service. These are the post compilation tools which you need in MIDE. Over the air deployment support. What does it mean? That is, a better MIDE will allow you testing of the deployed app within the development environment. You don't need various devices to test on, but on the development environment only you are able to deploy and then check. End-to-end mobile application development. That is, we see mobile devices are not that powerful. Process, storage large amount of information locally. So how to do this? Can you do it on your IDE? So it is important for the developers to create, test and deploy the entire mobile projects using your desktop MIDE. You are working on your PC or your workstation. This is called end-to-end mobile application development. Documentation tutorials, support materials should be there, because while you are working you may be stuck somewhere. So in order to learn and to use it to entirety or to solve certain purpose, you need effective documentation and tutorials. Graphic user interface builders. If the MIDE is supporting visual construction for your user interface, like we were doing in Qt. So Qt became popular just because we are able to design good user screens. So we can construct the prototype and test it quite quickly if we have a graphical user interface builders. Okay. So these are certain criteria to choose MIDE as Yuan has suggested. Coming to the middleware. See, there are certain middleware projects. Means on one part you are developing, one part you are developing for, and there has to be some middleware. So these products are representative of those developed specifically for mobile applications. For example, you have www.infra.com. So mobile middleware is a set of library and WSDI component that interact between a web server and the application. So between web server and application, this is the middleware we are talking about that make mobile data available. So I am talking about the in-between which is providing the services. A middleware is all about providing the services. We have smartsoftmobile.com. So this mobile solution provides cloud-based and enterprise SAP, for example, SAP solution. Sybase.com. So this is providing MEAP, that is mobile enterprise application platform that provides tools and client server middleware for mobile and enterprise application development. You can also go to scn.sap.com. Code.google.com, Skiing Zone. This is a lightweight and extensible Java middleware. So that also is enabling the development of distributed mobile applications. Along with this, we have modolabs.com. Kurogo. This is also a very popular open source platform designed to power the content-rich, multifaceted mobile websites and iPhones and Android apps. There are middlewares which are required while developing the mobile apps, and these are the ways you can get it. Cloud computing. Cloud, when the time it has come, the things have changed now. For example, the service-oriented architecture when it came, and we have cloud computing. So service computing and cloud computing, these are very important to rapidly develop the mobile application which are large-scale distributed applications. So these two things, service computing and cloud computing, this enables, for example, these both computing paradigms, they have made the word or creating application quite easier and economical. You are working or you're making it for different devices, may it be your personal computer or a smartphone or a tablets. So I was talking about the service oriented architecture. So you get the architectural style, for example, REST. You have standard protocols like XML and SOAP, and the interfaces, of course, the WSDL kind of thing needed for mobile development. So the architecture is already there. So we are working on a layer which is above it. So why not to use this service oriented architecture? Because all is about, the mobile app is all about getting service and providing service. And coming to the cloud computing, now this is an on-demand network access, on-demand, the software or the platform or the infrastructure. So on-demand network access to a shared pool of configurable computing resources you can get, for example, server, storage, applications and services. So this services computing, this allows us as a developer to avoid the need to integrate service source code into the client running on mobile devices. So you don't need to do that, because there is already a service oriented architecture. You just have to make it and put it on the layer above it. The service is already there, right? So you get a benefit of faster and economical development. The service actually runs out of the service provider. It is not closely coupled. It is loosely coupled with the application that make use of it through messaging protocols. As I said, XML, SOAP, REST, WSDL, all are there. So we concentrate on development rather than all creating the different layers. Cloud computing. Now this is the talk of the town now. It lets the client request computing capabilities as needed anywhere they want. So cloud architecture has 3 service layers: the SaaS, PaaS and this IaaS, software as a service. So this layer consists of software component, the application. These are hosted by third-party service provider. So you can use software wherever you want as a service. And on the background you have service SOAP, the service oriented architecture, platform as a service. You can design, implement and testing. If there are so many team members geographically distributed, they can work on the platform on demand. Infrastructure as a service. You can get the computing resources like the storage, processing power, even the network connectivity on cloud. So the SaaS, PaaS, IaaS, these are 3 service layers. And this is one more thing, using a vendor neutral cloud, that is Azure or some which is specifically vendor specific. If you use a vendor neutral cloud, you can create cross platform application to make it easier. So Taival Sari, he pointed out that making use of this cloud storage will allow you or allow any mobile device or software features to be updated easily on millions of devices worldwide, because you are targeting millions and billions of people. This is possible to virtualize the entire mobile user experience so that all applications are downloaded from the cloud. So that is how the cloud plays an important role. You can do everything on cloud, and that change can be experienced. The applicability of conventional software engineering. So we were using some SDLCs, waterfall, etc., the agile, etc. Now, various these agile software engineering practices, we used to create the computer application. Now they can be used for mobile applications or mobile client software. So agile, whenever we use agile is the faster method. So we create or we formulate the user stories. Then we need to get the requirements. So what is the user experience, what they want, what are the stakeholders requirement need, we must need to satisfy. There are contextual variable. Contextual variable is how they want it to be done. During the planning, what do? We plan for multiple devices, multiple platforms, and this has to be done for a particular budget and timeline. How? Because the time is very less and the app budget sometimes it is not that much. So usability testing and field testing, this also adds to the cost and the budget for mobile apps. This is also one of the factor. And then the risk analysis, because here in mobile app development, the security and the privacy is very important. So every time you have to think about the risk analysis, and this also will add to the cost and to the thoughtfulness, because you are working on wireless environment, you are working, because everything is personal now. The mobile app is developed for short span of time. Time to market is critical. Until you make it, the other party will come with the solution. So new technology elements are coming, the user requirements are changing. So the development will always has to cater the requirement. During the product engineering, the content analysis is done, the design. These are the action which are applied whenever you develop a web app. So design of this mobile app, you can increase it, you can expedite it using the design patterns, using the component based design. Because if some design pattern is already there for mobile app, or the component is already developed, you can directly use it. But remember, the quality of service should not be compromised while you are reusing, or the already built you are just imbibing. This is the core objective for any mobile app development, mobile application development, even the mobile client software. User-centered design, because everything is about usability and accessibility to all. Everyone needs to access it, whether a normal person or any other person. So here the quality user interfaces is important, because screen is small, everyone needs to interact, and they are doing everything now, paying, viewing and relaxing. The most important architectural design is whether we want to make a thin or a fat client. Thick client, you can say. See, let me tell you, I already told you in the beginning, if a mobile is, say, in a military service, one mobile is used for specially one task, but your personal mobile, you are using it for multiple tasks. So for this kind of military services or some organizational, you need to make a thick client or a fat client. But for these app for you, it needs to be a thin client. The model view controller, MVC architecture. This is also commonly used in mobile apps. MVC architecture. So I'll just tell you about the thick and thin client. In thick client, all the work is done mostly in the software or app itself. There is no or little interaction with the background or the back end or the server. Server is thin. In the thin client, everything is done on the server. The client is only for interaction purpose. Database will be in thick server and everything will be in thick server. In MVC, user is going to interact with the view. Now view will tell the controller that a certain event has occurred. Now controller will update the model. Now model will alert the view that something has changed, and now view will grab model data and it will update itself. So view, controller, model, it will differentiate the different kind of job that is done. So it is kind of a layered approach or a way to actually see your application in a compartmentalized way. So the development become quite easier. So this MVC is very popular among the mobile app. You need to follow this MVC and be very sure whether you want to do it for a thick client or a thin client. And most of the apps we make are thin. The architectural design, it has to take the device resources, because the storage, the processing power, the battery, the network connectivity is an issue. The design should include provision for discoverable services. For example, the Bluetooth and the Wi-Fi, and there are so many. And the devices are moving. You are carrying the mobile everywhere. The testing, that is the usability testing and the deployment testing, every prototype you develop, you have to take care of these testing. And the code reviews, because the code you have made, someone has to review it. And especially thinking about the security aspect, security objective, the threats that are possible. This has to be seen as a code reviewer, right? This security testing is a routine part of system testing whenever it comes to mobile app. Well, security is for every application. But mobile, the environment is different, where it is going to work or it is going to be used. So code reviews should focus on security issues. So we discover, then we define, then we design, then we develop, then we deliver, and finally maintenance support for mobile app development. This is the whole process. Okay, this is all about this topic. Thank you so much. Take care of yourself.